Good evening. This is Coach Todd coming to you guys with the virtual 2020 Wadsworth Grizzlies Football Awards Banquet. Um, Similar to what this year was, obviously this will be an unprecedented banquet, one that I wish that we didn't have to do virtually, but understanding the magnitude of what we're dealing with and what we've been dealing with now for, coming up in March or for a year, this is the way that we have to conduct our awards banquet, although we have every intention of doing something in person, hopefully in the spring or the summer once the vaccine is more highly distributed and the governor allows us to have larger in-person meetings. So with that said, a few thank yous I need to give out. Obviously, our athletic director, Brad Musgrave, and his secretary, Alicia Innocente, they do so much for our program. There's a lot of different logistical things, especially in a year like this, where they really helped us out. Our high school administration, Steve Moore, Rich Berlin, Chris Sieber were also great helps to our program, great supporters of our kids, our coaches in our program. Can't get anything done without our superintendent, Dr. Hill, and his assistant superintendent, Gabe Tudor. They're excellent men. They're big supporters of athletics and extracurriculars in Wadsworth. We're very blessed to have them. And of course, ultimately, the Board of Education, who makes the decision that they really pushed for football this year. I was so grateful for them advocating for not just football, but for all of our student athletes. And we're blessed to have a board that's so involved with our students, and we really appreciate it. There's a lot of school personnel that do things that behind the scenes that we don't really hear about, and the custodians and everything that they've had to do throughout the school year and the year that they've had with cleaning facilities. Drew Hutton always takes care of our, the outdoors. He's in charge of the grounds and maintenance. Scott Larch is our maintenance director, and he's a wonderful man. And anytime we need something, they make sure that they get it taken care of for us right away. Our medical personnel that take care of our players. Cole, he's in the training room, and our players, unfortunately, spent a lot of time in there this year. But Cole was always willing to go the extra mile, to stay later, to meet on a weekend. He's a phone call away, and even when he's off, he's on. So I really appreciate having Cole and everything that he brings to our program. Our team doctors this year, Dr. Crawford and Dr. Herbert, were at every game, and again, supporting us and providing our players with the best care. Team mothers, my goodness. I mean, we've had such great support from all of the moms in this class and the classes below, but really want to thank Wendy Montgomery. Her and I began to meet last spring and just started talking about the what ifs. What if we're able to do this? What are we not allowed to do? And certainly this year was not traditional, but we tried to make it as normal as we possibly could. And I realized that there were a lot of things that that our guys missed out on, but I think our team mothers did a phenomenal job. We had team meal every Thursday. We had food after games, and they really made sure that our players were taken care of. And I can't thank them enough for everything that they do behind the scenes to make sure that our guys do not go without. Had some staples of ball boys at every game. My son Braden, almost every game that I've been a head coach, he's been on the sideline since he's been able to walk. So he's been at every game in my 5 years here at Wadsworth. And, there's nothing more special than having my boy out there with me. This year we had Noah Reese join the sidelines, and he was always excited to do that. So I appreciate Noah and his family allowing him to do that. And then again, for the fifth year in a row, I've had Bryson Hall, who is a future Grizzly, and he loves football. And I can't be thankful enough that I've got those guys that are always there. And, every once in a while I have to snap at them to get them, locked in, but they're always there and helping everybody out. I can't go without thanking my coaches, the coaching staff that we have. Listen, we don't do everything right. We're certainly aware of that, and we were made more aware of that this year because there wasn't as big of a crowd. But with that said, I can tell you, and I feel very strongly about this, that there's not a staff that cares individually more about their players than this group. These are men that are in it for the right reason. They're selfless men. They take a significant amount of time out of their personal lives. Things that are not compensated financially. They do it for the love of the game, but more importantly, they're giving back to the game of football and to your kids. And so while we certainly don't do everything right from a schematic or a fundamental standpoint, I know that these guys are always trying to improve. But with that said, there's not a group of men that you'll find that care more about your kids. And I can go to bed every night knowing that your kids are in really good hands. These guys are wonderful men, and they really care about the guys that they coach. And it's not just at the high school level; it's all the way down through. So I'm very thankful for that. And then finally, my wife, very special woman, and I'm blessed to have a woman in my life that understands that the calling of being a coach is much greater than just from August to November. Bet more than just Monday through Friday. She understands the grind. She really picks up a lot of slack that is had when I'm gone. We spend myself and our coaches, we spend an awful lot of time. So to my wife and the families of our coaches, I'm obviously indebted forever for you allowing us to do what we believe is a calling. So a little recap of our season. Um, March 13th last year was a Friday, and little did I know, or little did any of us imagine, that it was going to be the last time I was going to see our players in 3 months. Never would have fathomed that could have happened. Um, and, obviously things that were out of our control. But what I would say is that prior to that March 13th, I really thought that our group was taking another step in the weight room. Our attendance was really, really good. And I believe, as much as any team in the state, our weight room, our off-season program has been pivotal to the success that we've had in the past. We, what I can confidently say over the last 3.5, 4 years is that there were rarely an occasion where we stepped on the field and we were not the most physical team. And so much of that was because of the dedication that took place in our weight room. And I can confidently say that we were starting to meet that same level of expectation that had been set with the classes prior in the weight room. I mean, our guys' strength numbers were going way up, the attendance, the buy-in, the camaraderie, all of those things were taking place, and that was stripped from us. And that's not an excuse, that's a reality. It happened to a lot of teams across the state. Um, One of the things that I know that our staff really tried hard, and as I've spoke with other staffs, I'm very proud of the work that our coaching staff did, and kind of the theme was the work that you did in the dark last year. We did everything in our power to connect with our players virtually, and I realize that's an extremely difficult way to learn, extremely difficult way to connect, especially for older school guys like us that want that in person. We utilized our Google Classroom, and what really blew us away was the number of underclassmen that took part in that were belonging in our meetings that we would have once every couple of weeks, where we'd start to talk about scheme. We had virtual installs, and I'm really really proud of our coaches and our players that took part in that. And we felt like we were more mentally prepared coming into the season. Physically, there was nothing that we could do about it. But mentally, we felt like we were prepared and ready to go once we were finally given the go ahead. Had a number of players. We tried to put out home workouts, and that's not easy. We gave out a lot of weights and wanted guys to set up home gyms. And I mean, at one point, our weight room was bare because we had given out so much of our equipment because we wanted to give our guys the opportunity to remain strong. But I will just say this: there's nothing like training with your team. And I think that if there's one thing that I really wish our guys could have experienced, was that March through August weightlifting in the weight room together, grinding. I just think it's such an important part of football and really an important part of our program. It's something that I've considered a key recipe, no matter where I've been, to the success of our program. Some things that our guys missed out on. I know that mulching is not fun at all. It's a great fundraiser for us, but not necessarily because of the money that it brings in, but because of the bonds that it builds. Nobody likes to mulch. That's the reason why our mulch sale is so successful. Nobody likes to mulch. But when you have a bunch of guys that are doing it together, it makes it easier. And you start to learn things about one another because you're on your hands and your knees and you're spreading mulch and you're doing a lot of dirty work. Um, but it's also been an important part of our team camaraderie that that we missed out on this year. One of the favorite things that I do is our first team camp where we stay the night. We have we have a barbecue, and I think our kids really look forward to that every year. That first week of camp's difficult, but we it's culminated with a great experience where everybody gets to stay together in a tent. They're up all night, building fires, and so again, these are things as I reflect on last season, things that I know that our players missed, and that I'm deeply sorry that they didn't get to do that. Another thing that we do that's great is Kenyon. And that's a tough week, but again, you learn a lot about your football team. You learn a lot about yourself when you're pushed through those 2.5, 3 days of Kenyon. Um, One of the things that I really feel bad for our guys is that they weren't really given the opportunity to bond in a locker room. And a locker room is really important because you have a whole bunch of, I always tell people, man, you want to be in a, a cultural melting pot. You go to a college football locker room and you have guys of all different demographics and socioeconomic statuses, and everybody's there for the same purpose of making the best football team that you can. And that's not any different than what it would be in a high school locker room. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, things that were out of our control, we really didn't have that opportunity. Some of your fondest memories of being with your buddies playing football, as crazy as it sounds, happen in the locker room, either before or after practice. Some really funny things that are sacred to football take place. We weren't able to have our in-person meetings like we normally have, and as we've met as a staff since the season's ended, we really talked about how important that is, being able to look each other in the eye, not through a screen. And again, I've touched on the weight room and just not being able to utilize that weight room, even once we got in season, being scared of having too many guys in the same room. It's just not the same. And again, I think the weight room is such a huge part of our football culture. And, so I really regret some of those things. But with that said, there was a time over the summer where I felt really confident that we were going to be playing football. And then as we actually got closer to the start date, my confidence really was shrinking. And I was a part of a lot of meetings. I was a part of a lot of, um, behind the scenes, non-sourced quotes in the newspaper because I really was doing everything in my power to give our kids the opportunity to play. And as we got closer to the season, the further it was in July, the less confident that I was. And then finally, when we were given the go-ahead, I was really unsure. We were the guinea pigs and didn't really know how this was going to go. And I know that it was difficult for our players as it was for our coaches. I would say that once we got into our season, there wasn't a team that was more affected across the state in the early part of the year. As the season went on, you started to see more cancellations. But from us specifically, we were truly affected by COVID early in the year. As a matter of fact, we were one of the few teams in the state to miss a game in the early part of the season and have key players out, based off of that. So, as I recap our season, certainly you can look at it from a win-loss standpoint and know that it wasn't our best showing. But there were a lot of things that I know that our guys overcame that I'm really proud of. And again, I don't know that there was a team that battled and overcame more adversity than our team. When you lose a leader on a non-contact drill like Jazz Jackson, a guy that's a 3-year starter for us, he's played in the biggest game in school history, and he's your emotional leader, and all of a sudden, he's out, and now you're asking guys, and I think our guys did an admirable job of filling in. But, it was this week to week. And, we start off playing North Royalton and kind of hitting on all cylinders, like I thought we would. And then we've got a great game plan. Our guys are excited. We're focused. We're fired up. We're ready to go play Stowe and what we knew it would be a monster game up at Stowe. And Thursday night, less than a little bit more than 24 hours prior to our game, we're informed that we can't play. And, again, for nobody's fault, we're dealing with an unprecedented situation, and that deflated us. That really did, because we had momentum going. We turn around the next week and we're missing key starters, and and we lose a game that we had every opportunity to win. It was a high scoring shootout. But again, we were still affected by injury and COVID, and it's not an excuse; it's a reality. Then we play a Hudson team that that was one of the top 5 teams in the state, if not higher than that. They gave Akron Hoban, who blew everybody out, gave them all they could handle for 3/4 of the game. And we were right there. We had an opportunity to take the lead in the third quarter, and we battled with one of the best teams in the state. And as we went on, for the year, I thought that we continued to get better in some areas, which were lacking earlier. And again, it was just this constant fluctuation of who's going to be available to play, who's not, things that we needed to work on. But all in all, these guys came back every day and they battled and they gave us great effort. And I can never fault the effort that they gave, and I'm really thankful for that. Ultimately, I'm thankful that we had a season, regardless of what the record was and the way that you feel individually about the performance of the season. The one thing that I always revert back to is how thankful I am that we got to play, because I would hate to be given this presentation and saying, man, what if, right? And that would be a real regret, and that would be something that none of us would be able to really handle. We got an opportunity, and that was all that we asked for. And I'm very thankful that we had that opportunity, and I'm very thankful that that our guys got to play, because football is a special game. And once you're done playing ball, there are no adult leagues that you get to play football anymore. So with that said, talking specifically about our seniors, that's a great senior class. A lot of really good athletes that played in a lot of really big football games in their career. I mean, they were part of some of the most memorable seasons in Grizzly football history. And it's been a great honor for me to serve as the football coach. These guys were 8th graders when my first year, and watching them grow and mature and develop. And we had a lot of these guys that were integral parts of our most successful football season in Wadsworth history, a 12-win season. So these guys have played in big games and they've won a lot of football games, and we're certainly going to miss their athletic ability and all the things that they brought to the table physically on the field. So with that said, going to move on into kind of the introduction and the presentation of awards. I'll be cutting in and out here as I introduce coaches and who they're going to be, who they're going to be recognizing. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start with our freshman coach, Coach Chris Beery. Coach Beery's been with the program for a long time, does a phenomenal job with our freshman coaches, and we're really fortunate in Wadsworth to have him leading up our freshman unit. So on to Coach Beery.
Welcome, everyone. The 2020 football season was a season full of uncertainty and constant change. The Wadsworth freshman football team, through all of this change and uncertainty, was able to play a 10-game schedule and finish with an outstanding 10-0 record. Along the way, the team was undefeated in Suburban League play, was able to play and defeat the Federal League champion Lake Blue Streaks. We were able to play and defeat the Greater Cleveland Conference co-champion Medina Bees, and our only loss was to the Greater Cleveland Conference co-champion Brunswick Blue Devils when we traveled to their stadium on a Thursday night to play under the lights at 7 o'clock. It was an outstanding season for many reasons. The resiliency, work ethic, and focus of these players through so much uncertainty and so much change is something that's going to serve them well as they continue not only throughout their football and high school careers, but travel with them throughout their lives. The lessons we've learned throughout this season, throughout this pandemic, and everything we're able to accomplish this season, and the way we are able to focus and the resiliency that we were able to show amidst all this adversity is something I'm going to look back upon and be extremely proud of. This is a great group of young men, and their future is extremely bright. And I look forward to watching them continue to improve, continue to grow, and have successful high school football careers, high school academic careers, and very successful lives. Thank you, men, for an outstanding season, and best of luck in all that you do.
Okay, next up, I'm going to introduce Coach Colopy. He is going to present the Tony Detweiler Award for the 2020 Grizzly football season.
Hi, Coach Colliper here, and I have the honor of presenting the 2020 Tony Detweiler Award. There are specific guidelines that must be met in order to be nominated for and to win the Tony Detweiler Award. Such guidelines include you must have lettered in football his senior year, must have displayed strong character as a player and student in class, followed training rules, exemplary respectfulness to coaches, teachers, players, and other students, and outstanding sportsmanlike treatment of opponents and officials. The selection committee for the Tony Detweiler Award is comprised of one football squad representative, one coaching staff representative, one student council representative, and one faculty representative. A little bit about Tony Detweiler. He was an active and admired leader in athletics and organizations. He was a likable young man with a ready smile. When things were at its lowest, he was always there helping, encouraging, and laughing. But most of all, he was our friend, and we shall miss him. To the athlete who earns this honor, may he walk a little taller, hold his head a little higher, and forever be proud to have received this award in Tony's name. This year's winner has been known to our coaching staff as the emotional barometer of the last 2 or 3 years. Although his play is fierce and physical between the whistles, he also shows immense respect for his opponents, officials, fans, cheerleaders, teammates, and coaches. While even being sidelined early in the season with a fracture to a bone in his forearm, he continued to be seen and heard at practice until it was his time to strap the pads back on and play. As a 3-year starter at linebacker, other Suburban League teams rejoice in watching him graduate and move on to the next chapter, while our Grizzly football family is thankful for his dedication, hard work, and leadership he has given to our team, school, and community. The recipient of the 2020 Tony Detweiler Award is Mr. Jemison Jazz Jackson. Congrats, Jazz.
Next up, I'm going to introduce Coach Kevin Bucks. Coach Bucks is a graduate of Wadsworth High School. He's been with our program now for 4 years. Develops great relationships with his players. He's a great defensive line coach. Does an excellent job schematically, but even more than that, he's got a deep relationship with the defensive line group. And we always appreciate having Coach Bucks and his presence and his his great demeanor. So, Coach Bucks to introduce the defensive lineman of the year.
Hello, my name is Kevin Bucks. I coach the defensive line for Wadsworth High School. Talking about our defensive line this year, one of the philosophies that we have on defense is that we match up to our opponent's strength. And we ask our players to be understanding when we have multiple substitutions and we match up personnel. So we are very flexible up front in our personnel packages based off of run or pass. The defensive lineman of the year this year really is a player that we didn't take off the field too much. He was able to play his position versus the run and the pass. He was flexible to move to different sides, down, inside, outside, and he battled through a shoulder injury throughout the course of the year and played through that pain. He contributed to our defensive line on the varsity level since he was a sophomore, first as a pass rusher, then as a more of a substitution run and pass last year, and then a full 100% of the time this year. The defensive lineman for of the year for 2020 is Logan Charla. Logan led our position group through his work ethic and in high level of play and high level standard. He is a very quiet leader and he leads by example as we go through. Next year, his contributions to our position group, will be missed. He was an individual that did things the right way, and the ability to teach the young guys how to do it the right way will be seen in the future in the coming years. Wish Logan nothing but the best, and I wish all the seniors that are graduating the best of luck as they move on to the next chapter of their lives.
Next up, I'm going to introduce Coach Corey Potter. Coach Potter has been with our program for 3 years. An excellent football coach, a great tactician, a great individual coach. He works with our linebacker group, and we've had great linebackers over the last several years. So Coach Potter is going to talk real brief about the linebacker group as well as the linebacker of the year.
Hi, everybody. I'm Corey Potter. I'm the linebackers coach for those of you who don't know me. Our linebacker of the year this year really doesn't need any introduction, but something that I'm really proud of this player for, other than being a phenomenal football player and teammate, is the adversity he overcame this year, something that no one really foresaw. It's really difficult to come back from this type of injury so soon like he did. And what I'm most proud of our linebacker of the year this year is for his work ethic before and especially after the injury. Our 2020 linebacker of the year is Jazz Jackson. Thank you for all your hard work. These are always so bittersweet. I'm so fortunate to have gotten to know you and all of our linebackers this year, and I wish you all the best. Thanks.
Next up, I'm going to have Coach Colopy talk once again about the Fox and the Rover position, which is a defensive position, specifically safeties for us in our 3-3 stack scheme. The reason I'll have Coach Colopy, and then I'm going to have Coach Matt Probst, who coaches corners for us. He is going to introduce the defensive back of the year, which fits in with Coach Colopy and the position that he coaches.
Hi, I'm Coach Luke Colopy, and I have the privilege to coach the Fox and Rover on defense. The Fox and Rover position group is essentially a strong safety outside linebacker hybrid. Along with the free safety, they're known as the adjusters of our defense, meaning that they will roll back and roll down in coverage depending on the formation and motions that the offense present us with. They must be able to defend slot wide receivers man-to-man, play numerous zones in our zone coverage schemes, set an edge on outside run plays, and be able to fold inside the box to assist on inside run plays. They must be instinctive, quick reacting athletes. They play in space much of the time, so when they do something well, everyone gets to see it. But on the flip side of that, when they make a mistake, everyone gets to see it. Due mainly to injuries at other positions, our personnel changed often this season, and it became tough for us to get into a rhythm. This season, our position group was led by captain and senior returning starter Karsten Marshall and senior Robbie Lynn. Seniors Ethan Korecki and Ben Carroll also gave time at our position group. Although we lose some talent and experience to graduation this season, I'm very confident in our underclassmen to step up and fill the shoes of our seniors to the best of their abilities. Finally, I just want to wish all of our departing seniors the best of luck in their future endeavors.
Next up to introduce our defensive back of the year is Coach Matt Probst. Coach Probst has been with us for 3 years at the varsity level. He was a longtime coach at the youth level, does a lot of really good things for our program behind the scenes, and does an excellent job with technique with our defensive backs, specifically our corners. So Coach Probst to introduce the defensive back of the year.
Hi, I'm Coach Matt Probst. I coach defensive backs here at Wadsworth High School, and I have the privilege of presenting the Defensive Back Player of the Year this year. Now, it goes to a very special young man who helped define the role of this position in our defensive backfield. This position specifically is Fox, which is a strong safety position. This individual helped define the role because it takes such skill, ability, talent, and athletic prowess to play this position. He helped define how we will go forward looking for athletes to play this position. He is so special of an athlete that when we had injuries this year, he was asked to play multiple positions. In fact, we actually created a position called Joker just for him to play because he's this special of an athlete. He has the ability to run laterally, blitz, create havoc in the backfield for quarterbacks. This is a type of athlete that all quarterbacks and offensive coordinators have to know where he is at all times on the field. It is my pleasure to present this year's Defensive Back Player of the Year to Karsten Marshall. Now, I also have to share with you that Carson's going to be continuing his athletic career at the University of Iowa State. Congratulations, Karsten. We look forward to seeing you playing on Saturdays.
Next up, I'm going to introduce Coach Jason Knapp. Coach Knapp is our defensive coordinator. He is a Wadsworth graduate. He is our assistant head football coach. Coach Knapp does as good a job as anybody that I've ever worked with. I trust him more than any coach that I've ever coached with. And he's a true leader of men and does an amazing job week in and week out of controlling our players, the coaches, and putting together great game plans. And I tell you what, there have been some calls that I've watched Coach Knapp make over the last 5 years, in certain situations that couldn't have been more dialed up perfectly. He's a phenomenal man, and we're very fortunate to have Coach Knapp in Wadsworth. So Coach Knapp for the Defensive Back of the Year and the Impact Defensive Player.
Hello, this is Coach Knapp, and I would like to present the Impact Defensive Player of the Year. The Impact Defensive Player of the Year is someone who makes plays consistently and in the clutch. Someone who is a game changer and also brings something to the field more than just, say, scoring touchdowns. Maybe it's a key play on third down. Maybe it's even a key play on a fourth down. Maybe also key play when the game is on the line. Could be a pass breakup, could be an interception, could be a caused fumble, could be a big tackle in a really big moment. This year, we felt we had a lot of impact players, but one that stood out, Skylar Kreis. This year, 2020, Impact Defensive Player of the Year, Skylar Kreis. Good job, Skylar.
To introduce our offensive lineman of the year and also to talk about the offensive line group as a whole, we've got Coach Blake Dixon. Coach Dixon has been with me as I've been a head coach now for 9 years, and he's been with Wadsworth with us for 5 years. Coach does a great job, teaching the fundamentals of an offensive line, and he's produced some really good offensive linemen. So, Coach Dixon to talk about the all offensive line group and the offensive lineman of the year.
Hi, I'm Coach Dixon. I get to talk about the offensive line for a little bit. What a crazy year. Nothing was the same. But, these guys made coming to work every day and practice fun. They made meeting virtually on Wednesday nights interesting and funny. When I will look back on this class, I will always remember how they were able to bring sophomores and even freshmen up together. I hadn't seen that in the past as done as well as this group was able to get everybody together, even when we were supposed to be socially distanced. It was everybody's working for a group. That we made some adjustments and we moved people around and egos didn't get in the way, and it was what was best for the team. And those characteristics will provide a lot of success to the senior class. In the past, we would talk individually, but this group is what they're going to be known for, a group. And so tonight you're being honored together, just like you'll be for the rest of your life. You're going to be in each other's weddings. You're going to be best friends forever. And we'll be forever linked, fat and nasty. And I love you. And, congratulations. Hi, Coach Dixon, and I get to announce the Offensive Lineman of the Year award. And this year, I'll tell you, we had a lot of great contenders for it. It was a great group to have. Blessed to coach them each and every day. But this year's winner, with the help of my assistant, thank you. Thank you, Blakely. Grading in at 86% and having 71 knockdowns, congratulations Joey Rozak. Congratulations, Joe.
Next up, I'll introduce Coach Matt Saunders. Coach Saunders has been with our program for 3 years. We plucked him out of Northeast Ohio, Louisville. Coach Saunders does a really nice job with our wide receivers, and again, does a great job of developing relationships, trying to hold those guys accountable. We appreciate Coach Saunders and everything he does for our program.
Good evening, Grizzly Nation. Coach Saunders here, coming to you live from Stark County. I hope everyone had a good weekend where they were able to celebrate, stay safe, and spend some time with family. 2020 has been a challenging year. It's been a rough year to coach in, to play in. You had to battle adversity up and down every week. And I'm proud of our guys and the resilience they've shown, and how tough they were week to week to, compete with each other. Never knew on a Friday night if we'd have the opportunity to play in a game, or even what athletes we would have that night. So it says a lot about our guys as individuals and our guys as a team. I know the record does not reflect what we wanted, but I think high school sports in general, it's all about establishing and building relationships. And there's guys in this group, especially the receiver group, that I will stay close with. And I know Coach Borsani feels this way as well for years to come. And I want everyone to know that, anyone needs anything down the line, I'm there for you. Reach out and I'll see what I can do. The 2020 wide receiver of the year goes to a recipient who's I think it's 2 years in a row now he's won this award, and it's really hard pressed to go away from this recipient. Barrett Labus is the receiver of the year. Barrett Labus is also Medina County's leading receiver career-wise. He's had an exceptional career, exceptional work ethic. I attributed to Barrett, I think, as a 10th grader, as the energizer bunny of our group. And I really felt, fair or not fair, I put a lot of pressure on him at practice, because if Barrett was having a good practice, we were having a good practice. He's one of those guys that just has a ball of energy, loves football, and I'm excited to see him do big things in his next step and wherever that may bring him. So 2020 wide receiver of the year is Barrett Labus. And I appreciate all the guys' hard work and effort that they gave us this year. I know a lot of our guys on the outside were asked to play defense at times, which isn't always, it's not what they wanted, but they stayed the course and they did what was best for the team. I wish everyone the best of luck. Look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thank you.
Next up, we'll have Coach Matt Mountjoy. Coach Mountjoy is also a graduate of Wadsworth High School. He has been with the program for 6 or 7 years. He's been with us for all 5 years that our staff has been together. Coach Mountjoy does a lot for our program. He's the JV offensive coordinator, does a great job on the weekends when we develop game plans. He's in charge of our running backs and our tight ends. And so Coach Mountjoy is going to talk about the running back position, as well as the offensive skill player of the year for the 2020 Grizzlies.
Hi, everybody. I just want to start off by saying I'm proud to have been a part of coaching with this staff and these guys for this past season, like always. And one thing I'll always remember about this year is how well this senior class responded to adversity that came through the whole COVID situation, and being able to fight through the unknowns and always worked their hardest and fought through every single game. That's one thing we knew that we would always be able to count on, is they would give everything they had in every single game. First off, I just want to say how grateful I am again to just coach the running backs. It was a great group this year, led by senior Brendan Gray. Barrett played some running back as well. But overall, that group put together over 500 rushing yards, which with our offensive system being an empty primarily time was a good production. We also had 7 touchdowns from the running back group, and being an empty, they have to be able to catch the ball as well, adding another 15 catches and 2 touchdowns. I'm also excited to be able to announce the offensive skill player of the year. This is a guy who literally the offense ran through him, not just because of his position that he played, but because of his dynamic abilities. He also did this fighting through injuries and being beaten up, but he just continued to come out and play week to week at his highest level. So without further ado, Mitch Evans, congratulations. Mitch had 2,131 passing yards and 25 passing touchdowns. He also led the team in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns with 440 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. So congratulations again, Mitch, and we look forward to see what you can do at the next level. Thanks.
Coming over to the offensive side of the ball this year, another Wadsworth graduate, been with our program for 5 years at the varsity level. Coach Don Borsani made the switch over to the offensive side of the ball to give us some assistance and did a really great job. He was up in the press box with me, was able to communicate, a lot of the things that he saw from a coverage perspective, which helped me call plays on Friday night. So appreciate Coach Borsani. He is going to introduce the explosive offensive player of the year.
Hey everyone, Coach Borsani here. I'm here to present the Explosive Offensive Player Award. Now, this is my first year working with the offense this year, and I saw a lot of really fun things and a lot of things that our seniors did great, a lot of things that our underclassmen will be able to build on for next year. When I think about an explosive offensive player, this is the player that definitely comes to mind. Anytime we would get him the ball, there was a chance for him to score a touchdown instantly. This player was a receiver for us this year. Whenever he would run a stick route, he could catch it and score. He would be a great blocker on the perimeter. He could catch the ball on quick screen, and he was also sometimes a running threat on jet sweep and other actions. This player, Explosive Offensive Player of the Year for 2020, great season, Anthony Serino. Thanks, everyone.
And finally, we'll have Coach Colopy talk again about the Special Teams Player of the Year. Again, Coach Colopy does a great job, kind of headed up our special teams this year along with me. Appreciated all of his help. And so he's going to present the 2020 Special Teams Player of the Year.
Hi, I'm Coach Colopy, and I have the honor of presenting the 2020 Special Teams Player of the Year Award. This year's recipient is a young man that made the switch from soccer to football this fall. And after getting to know him and seeing how hard he worked over the past year, I feel he wishes he would have joined football sooner, and our coaching staff's feelings are mutual. Out of 46 total kickoffs this season, 13 kicks were placed between the 10 and 6 yard lines, 8 kicks were at or inside the 5 yard line, and 10 kicks were touchbacks. He also kicked 5 squib kicks and 5 well-placed onside kicks to round out his 46 kickoffs. He made a whopping 97% of his PAT attempts, going 34 of 35, and kicked a perfect 100% on field goal attempts, going 3 for 3 with a long of 27 yards. On a side note, not only did he contribute in the kicking game, but he worked to become a contributor on defense as a defensive end, especially in pass situations. He was able to use his length, speed, and athleticism to provide pressure on opposing QBs. With that all being said, the 2020 Special Teams Player of the Year award goes to Aiden Mendel. Congrats, Aiden.
Okay, I'm going to go through a long list of awards to finish out our 2020 banquet. The first one that I'm going to start with is the Ben Spakowski Award. This is an award that's given annually to a Wadsworth football player. Some really great leaders in our program have received this award. Last year winners was Logan Eggleston. Prior to that, it was Brock Snowball. Just some really great men that have been great leaders and selfless people in our program. So the actual description of the award is for a Wadsworth football player who best exemplifies the characteristics of sportsmanship, which were held in such high regard by Ben Spakowski during his many years of service to the school. I am very proud and honored for the 2020 recipient to be none other than senior Joey Rozak. So congratulations, Joey. The next one that I'm going to give out is one that I started when I was the head football coach at Loudonville. I just call it the Tough Mudder, because if any of you have ever participated in like a Spartan race or a Tough Mudder, it's a really difficult thing. You have to persevere. There's a lot of obstacles. And because I completed one, I just figured I'd create an award out of it because I really want to characterize the type of man that it takes, or in our program, to earn this award. And it's someone that just overcomes adversity, plays through injury, plays through pain, does some of those things that not everybody's willing and able to do. So this guy is, you've heard about him. He's the emotional barometer of our football team. One of my favorite players I've ever coached, because I feel like he just lifts everybody. His energy is so contagious, and it's been that way even before he was a senior. He was an emotional guy as a sophomore, certainly took a leadership role as a junior, and even when he was injured, and wasn't allowed to play, he had that emotional aspect of it. And then prior to him probably should playing, he suited up and he was out there and he was running through, and got injured again as the season went on, and continued to play. And just really one of the toughest, best football players I've ever been around. 2020 award winner for the Tough Mudder, none other than Jamison Jazz Jackson. Our most improved player. This one was difficult because we had a lot of guys that were starting for the first time that they'd ever stepped on the football field, on a varsity football field on a Friday night. So we had a number of candidates that we bantered back and forth, and there were so many guys that were deserving. But there were two that really stuck out, and the more that I spoke with our staff and I reflected on the season, there were two guys that I feel like made a huge jump. One from their first year of playing football to the next year, and then one from the beginning of the football season to the end. And I'm really proud that we were able to honor one guy on the offensive side of the ball and one guy on the defensive side of the ball as our most improved players. So on the offensive side of the ball, we're going to give the award to senior Thomas Feister. Thomas is a second-year player, joined our program as a junior. Is a big, strong kid. He's a really super nice kid, which was one of our concerns. But however, he did have that switch that you could flip when he got into game time. So Thomas did a great job, really improved from the moment that he started into our program as a junior, and then started all the games as a senior. And then defensively, a young man that we've got high hopes for. We know that he's going to be an integral part of our team over the next several years. Ian Kaufman on the defensive side of the ball. At the beginning of the year, he was a special teams guy and a JV player. And as the year progressed, he continued to get better and better and earned his way into a starting role, and actually was the Medina County Defensive Player of the Week for our first playoff game with an interception return for a touchdown, and had a really great game. So Ian Kaufman and Thomas for our most improved players. Some of my favorite awards to give out. This is one, we do each year, closest to September 11th, we do our Salute the Troops night. It's a game that I'm really proud of. Our guys go out and they earn money to purchase the USA jerseys that you see us wear. In a normal year, we're going to bring in a lot of veterans, and we were still able to do that on a modified level this year. But we talk about Pat Tillman a lot. Those of you that don't know the Pat Tillman story, I would highly suggest that you take 10, 15 minutes out of your day to get motivated and read his story. Really an honorable man that selflessly gave the ultimate sacrifice for his country. And so this year, how do I base this award? And this is an award that that I choose. It's a guy that exhibits selfless play. We've had some great men. Last year's award winner was a guy that didn't even play it down for us, really. But was injured in another sport and was willing to come out every day and film practice for us and kind of be a student assistant coach, which showed his character. This year, I'm going to award it to Brennan Gray. I don't know that there's a guy that exemplifies selflessness more than Brennan. Brennan stepped into the varsity running back role this year, and by the nature of our athletes, the design of our offense for this specific season, the running back wasn't as emphasized as much. To Brennan's credit, he was asked to do a number of different things, from run the football to pass protect, to run block, to catch the football. And never one time did I ever hear Brennan complain about the number of touches that he got in a game, in a practice. He kept his mouth shut, did everything to the best of his ability, and really had a great season for the Grizzlies this year offensively, between his rush yards, his ability to block and protection, his ability to release, catch screens, and block in the quarterback-driven run game. So I love Brennan. He's a great young man. He's got a really bright future, incredibly intelligent, near a 4.0 GPA. He's going to go off and do some fantastic things in his life. There's nobody more deserving or that exemplifies this award more than Brennan Gray. So the next two awards, the exemplary teammate award. Started this a few years ago. Michael Duncan was our first recipient of this award, and really what I try to model it after are guys that that just bring the whole team together. Everybody rallies around that particular person. And for the last couple years, I don't know that maybe other than Michael Duncan, who was the original design of the award, that I've ever had a guy that that everybody loves more than Max Keebler. Keebs is a guy that the whole team rallies behind. Got to play, got to start every game as a senior this year. Did a great job for us at guard, and but I just know that Max is a guy that all of his teammates love because he's a great man. He cares for his team. He's always we before me. And, Keebs is a guy that I'm going to miss having around our program. I don't know what we're going to do on Thursday nights now for our pregame ritual. I don't know who's going to take the place of catching these great passes. But Max Keebler is a guy that's been a real big part of our program and the success that we've had, and a guy that deserves this Teammate of the Year award. The most valuable player. This was difficult because we had a number of guys that did some really valuable things for us this season. So I didn't want to water down the award by giving it to multiple people. So really it came down to two guys, and so made the decision to make it kind of a lifetime award. And when you look at Barrett Labus, he is now the Medina County all-time leading wide receiver. There have been some unbelievably big names that have come out of Medina County, and for Barrett Labus's name to be at the top for all-time receiving yards is something that's pretty special and may never be surpassed again. And if it does, you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to be an incredible athlete. So Barrett's done so much for us over the last 3 years. Obviously, as a wide receiver, starting halfway through the year as a sophomore and playing big in the playoffs as guys got injured, and then doing a little bit of both of wide receiver and junior, and then primarily as a wide receiver. But his number to have back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving yards, and especially in a shortened year like this year when we only played 8 games, what more could you ask for from a kid like that? So Barrett's going to go on to the next level, going to play at a great college, and we're looking forward to watching Barrett and watch his maturation as he goes throughout the process. So Barrett Labus is the 2020 most valuable player of the Wadsworth Grizzlies. And then finally, the Coaches Award. And I am going to give this out to two guys because I've had two guys that have been integral parts of our program, ever since they were 8th graders. And we recognize their leadership characteristics at a young age. They've both played. They're both 2-year starters, 3-year letter winners. And they've played in really pivotal roles over the last couple years on our team. Both of them have been a constant presence in our weight room and our off-season program leading. They're strong. They work hard. They're coaches on the field. They're guys that we could always count on and know that they were going to be there and in the right spot to make a play. So these are guys that I have a special relationship with. Not that I don't with a lot of guys, but Brandon Wright comes from a coach's family, and he really was kind of a coach on the field. And he's done that ever since he was an 8th grader. I can remember watching him in middle school camp, and he was a vocal guy and was always, knew where he was supposed to be, but also where everybody else was supposed to be aligned. And so Brandon Wright, the other guy is Nick Metzger. And Nick's one of my favorite all-time players. He's an undersized linebacker that plays oversized. And he's had some of his best games against some of our best opponents, and which shows you the caliber of athlete that he is. Extremely explosive guy. In an ideal situation, Nick probably would have been more of a strong safety, but because of his toughness and his athletic ability and his physical strength, we played him at a weak side linebacker, and he was always showing up in big games and playing really, really well for the Grizzlies over the last 2 years. So appreciate everything that those guys have done for our program. They've been off-season leaders. They were always involved in our fundraisers, and just guys that I always knew that I could count on, guys that I always knew would be there for me, for the program, and for their teammates. So Nick Metzger and Brandon Wright. So with that said, that is the this concludes the awards portion of our program. I will also send out a PDF of what our banquet program would look like. Inside of that, you're going to have a list of all of our letter winners, our all county, all league, all Ohio, all district players, as well as just our team captains and things of that nature. So I will send that out along with this video and the highlight film of the 2020 Wadsworth Grizzlies. Once again, I just want to say how thankful I am that we got to play this season, that we got the opportunity to interact with these young men. They're going to do great things in life. I look forward to them to always coming back and visiting the program. And a special thank you to our seniors that have set such a high bar from an athletic standpoint. And really going to miss these guys. Really, it's going to be weird designing plays to for somebody new as opposed to a guy that's been there so long like Barrett or guys that have just done so many things for our program. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for a great year. I appreciate everybody's selflessness and dedication and perseverance that it took to pull off this 2020 season.